This is the Extended Podcast where we break down the truth. We take away the lies and we give you the honest facts about how we see the world, what's going on, and how we can do a little bit better in it. I'm the host, Caleb Schulke.
My name's Anthony Hara.
And this is episode 17. We're going to be talking about the only thing we have to fear. The concept of fear is a critical thing to understand in terms of being successful. As many of you know, life is a balance. It's yin, it's yang, it's light, and it's dark. You can't have success unless you're putting yourself in the fire. And therefore, we have to talk about this concept of fear. Fear is the receipt of your goals. It measures how much you actually tried. If you're not scared, you're likely not even aiming at the right thing to begin with. And so we judge most men in masculinity, I would say nowadays, in terms of how willing are you to risk defeat to get what you want? That in the gym, right? Pushing one more rep, talking to a girl in a bar or a coffee shop or whatever it is, starting a business. It's all based on the fact that you may not win, but being comfortable with that risk is what drives us forward. Most people today, they're not scared at all. They're numb. They wake up, they grab their phone, they roll through out of bed. They maybe even scroll through strangers' lives before they ever stand on their own 2 feet and start their own day. They punch a clock at a job that they hate, for instance, and they call that stability. But comfort is likely the biggest scam ever sold. It's a leash that's designed for most of you as security. And here's the truth that we're going to start with before we open up discussion. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is a compass. The fear in your gut is the proof that you're standing on the edge of the exact right point you're supposed to be. That could change your life. And the only question that you should be asking really is, do you walk through that door or do you step back into comfort? That's why we're going to be talking about the movement of Altura today. It's not just a project. It's not just an NFT. It's a syndicate for fearless founders, people that are done waiting for permission, feeling like they need their hand held by a boss, a teacher, or being lied to in the fact that you can't create. That matter can't come from your mind, likely the biggest secret in human history. And we're going to talk about that system. So the first topic of discussion today is going to be the system as a whole. And then we'll talk about maybe how we can break and challenge that system. So Anthony, this is where we get into the meat and bones. Are you ready to go? All right. So we talked about last time, banks, right? Getting funding, venture capitalists, things like that. Banks aren't in the business of funding dreams. They're in the business of fees and debt. It's numbers on paper, right? It's calculus. Try walking into a bank with a new idea. Otherwise, and prove me wrong on that. You'll leave with nothing but probably just a credit card application with like 30% APR. Venture capital is not just about vision anymore. It's a gated club in most commercial practices. If you're not Ivy League, if you don't have a track record of wins, right? If you don't kiss the right rings, then you're probably not even going to get in a room with these people. Even though you're told, right, go raise money to start a business. So most people are stuck bootstrapping, and therefore your business is likely just a small coffee shop at best, and you never make it to the dream level you want to hit. That's the programming that most founders are trapped into. It's, I'll get started once a bank believes in me, or once I can just build up that credit score. And you stay stuck in high interest rates and people that don't believe in you or give you a chance. And, when someone writes me a check, that's almost like an excuse to put off what you want to do. And meanwhile, time passes, your dreams rot, and ideas just die in the notebooks or in discussion. So before the question, I'll ask, and I'll actually make the point real quick. The Renaissance, and I was thinking about this the other day, the Renaissance didn't happen because one guy, right, with a paintbrush got lucky. It happened because somebody saw that person, right? Families came together. They shared ideas. They realized that these salons was what they called during the Enlightenment. Renaissance was kind of similar too, but these Medici families, right, the merchant resource groups pulled their money together because they wanted to back certain creators, certain visionaries with ideas like Da Vinci, right? And he painted because someone believed in him. Empires shifted because groups formed syndicates within. You likely hear the story of Alexander the Great, but you didn't hear about the families, the funding, the armies that were built up by the people that held power at that time. You just hear about the stories that make history and the main aspects. So Anthony, first question, I'm going to give you a minute to talk here because that was a big introduction, but how do you think most people get to the point in their life where they feel like they have to beg for permission to do anything outside of working the 9 to 5? And why do you think, and again, you can kind of double that, but why do you think people keep waiting on the same broken institutions that profit off of them to hope and come back thinking that's their only chance instead of trying to find other avenues?
I'll have to break that into the two parts that you asked it, because I think those are significant enough to talk about as separate questions. So the first one you asked was, why do I think people assume that's their only option is to just stay in the same path that their parents were in, whose parents were in, which is just wake up, make your money, work hard, save your money, and one day you'll get taken care of by a retirement account or the government. And the reason I think it's not even I think this is commonly accepted, especially nowadays, with people like Andrew Tate on the scene, and other names that have come out and said similar things about the subject. But it's just that that's what systemically is pushed and has been pushed for quite a few decades now, probably pushing a century here soon, which is that, I mean, it's almost like not even to these people's blame, because that's just what is considered normal in our society. That's what I was told when I was a kid. That's what my parents were told. My parents still, I mean, my dad worked 2 jobs, 2 blue-collar jobs growing up. My mom worked to be able to afford to raise me and my 2 other siblings, and they still work in the same career fields that they did when I'm 23 now. So when I was born 23 years ago. And I just think it's because that's what's normal. That's what everybody is told you should do. So then the second one is, why are people who might realize that this is the pattern of behavior that they're only following because they've been told to and because generations before them were told to, why are they just waiting on one of these big names or something, or a bigger bank or an entity that could propel them forward to give them their stamp of approval? I think that's the same problem, just in a different echelon, like the next level up. So you figure out, this 9 to 5 thing, if I stay in this path, I'll never be able to own land. I'll never be able to fulfill the American dream as it was originated for myself, because things are so expensive and because it takes a lot more now of our money to buy what that same amount of money would have bought, or what less money would have bought, previously, because of inflation and whatever else. That's a whole separate discussion. But people are realizing that's an issue, and then they say, what can I do about it? And I think about this a lot, actually. I think it's almost like they still are affected by that exact same line of thinking, which is just, I'll do what everybody else does. It's just in a different echelon of like ideology. Like, it's not, you've gone from, I'll work a 9 to 5 because that's what everybody tells me to, well, everyone seems to have started this way. So it makes me feel good to say I'm starting something, but I'm still just going to have to wait, and I'll just choose to wait on what appears to be my only option. And part of it might just be that kind of is the only option for a lot of people. And I think I have a feeling that you're going to hit on, this is kind of why we're creating what it is we're creating, so that people do have another option outside of this standard line of thinking. But I think it just stems from, as long as we're told what to do, there's a lack of creativity, and a lack of creativity is absolutely stifling the potential for people who have ideas, people who want to escape from that 9 to 5 lifestyle. And even though they understand that's an issue, still lack the creativity required to find a way to make it work, no matter what it takes. That was a terrible time to end with you taking a drink of water, but
Well, I guess we're done today. That was a perfect answer. Well, see you guys next week. Actually, I think is your mic like the same mic as last week? Because I think your mic's a little grainy. It's a little grainy. It sounds like you're talking through like your webcam.
it's a little talking through my mic because it's battery. Does it sound better this way?
I don't hear any difference, but chat, what do you think? It sounds the same to me though. Like it sounds like it's just coming right through your computer instead of your microphone.
Well, I have my phone. Does it sound worse or better?
That sounds a lot better.
It sounds better? Interesting.
That's what you got. Well, that sounds way better now. Yeah, that sounds way better, I think.
Keep it like this. Oh, you know what? My mic's not even, I think this one's dead. I wasn't even, you're right. It wasn't.
That's probably why. Yeah, because it sounded like you were talking through a cup or something.
Let me switch to this one. I have 2 here.
But it was like good enough where I could hear what you were saying. It wasn't just. It already sounds a lot better. But
should I keep it like this or switch to the phone?
That's good. What you have right now. So, guys, obviously this isn't like you're hanging out with us in the back rooms. We're just this isn't like a CBS production. So that makes it real too, hopefully. But that's let's just say right here, like our podcast, we could have fixed that ahead of time. We failed right there. That wasn't like perfect level quality. Most people would like say like, oh my God, we got to end this live stream. We got to restart because we messed it up. We didn't do it perfectly. And they get scared and they're like shut down. But most of the time, like success looks like having mess ups, but just knowing that you can find your way through it. And like we just work it out right here. And it's the people that think that they have to hit things perfect, the perfectionists the first time, that tend to never get anywhere just because I meet a lot of people like this too with my coaching. And I'm not going to call out particular clients, but I've like already talked to people and gave them general advice, whether or not I've actually even signed them yet or just on sales calls. I'm always trying to help you guys, but like too many of you people spend time fixing the website, setting up the LLC, but not getting in, believers, talking to people about your movement, sharing the vision, like the things that get people to believe. The belief comes first in the system, same with Altura, and everything kind of spirals around that. You don't start by like building the perfect website and all that. That's great. Get it up so you have something that has the information. But if you had a Google document with the paragraphs typed out, and you talk to 5 people that believe, that would be better than having a perfect website and no believers. So like It's the fact that I think so many of us are afraid to step outside of the boundaries because like the military and what we're used to, right? I think school's the same way. You're disciplined if you're late to class. You're disciplined if your homework looks weird. You're disciplined if you say something when you're not supposed to. You have to ask to use the bathroom. So stepping out of line in society and like doing a business that isn't normal, right? Or sure, like even just suggesting an idea on social media that isn't common practice. Society hard corrects you. I think, especially in America. I'd say in other countries you get a little bit more freedom of expression. We certainly have that here, but I'd say like we're all right. But there's the other places too. Like if you go to Dubai, you have these people driving around talking about $50 million business ideas of like mining asteroids in space and stuff, or like going and exploring the ocean for minerals or whatever it's going to be. And it's like shit that nobody in like your average everyday guy walking down the streets of New Jersey isn't going to just talk to you about on the sidewalk, right? Like it's people doing crazy things that you don't get as hard course corrected there as you do in the American system, which just still, I mean, it's great because it reinforces our common beliefs that we hold together. But you can see how that kind of boxes people in so that they feel like they also have to ask for permission when they're an adult now with a bank account to go start an LLC and then triple check themselves when they're doing that. I think honestly, half the coaching clients that I've worked with or just talked to or just had a sales call with, they literally just need somebody to give them affirmation that they're doing the right thing. Like I don't even have to probably help them that much outside of that. It's just that they want to make sure that like they have permission to do these things. And it's like, I'm not even an attorney, but it's just like, yes, you can start this business. Yes, you're doing the right things doing this. But I'd say honestly, a lot of coaches make money just doing that alone. Just saying, hey, you don't have to like ask for permission. You can just, you're doing it good. I'd say, do you think that's the case with like, I'm sure that laps into fitness too of like, I want to try this routine. Like, is this okay? Can I try experiment in the gym?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, for the viewers too, like, when you say ask for permission, I kind of view it almost as like, I just need confirmation that what I am trying is actually gonna bring me on a path that's, like, on the right path to bring me closer to achieving my goals. So it's not like they literally think, "Do I have permission to hit a bench press today?" It's like, is benching and is doing it the way I've been doing it gonna bring me closer to my goal?
No, otherwise it's just the military.
Yeah, the military is definitely we asked for permission. The military is like, "Did I say you could speak, brother?" Had our fair share of that stuff, but
I mean, so that fear, right? It's a signal. And it's actually what I think the biggest, like if I could give one general statement that, you know, how I try to challenge a statement or point of view every time, I'd like the statement for this one to be fear is a good signal. It's not a stop sign. Like if you're afraid, that means you're taking the appropriate amount of risk a lot of times. I would honestly argue if you don't feel a little bit scared, you're probably not doing something that's worth doing. Like when you proposed to your wife, how did you feel? Like,
Honestly, I'm kind of a person that doesn't think through what I'm doing like, in advance, like, all this in my mind I guess what I'm saying is, like, I don't think about its application for my life. I think about logically, does this make sense for me? And, like, from the time I met her, she met every expectation that I could have thought of for, like, a woman, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, I should marry her. Like, I'm not gonna date to not marry. Like, I need to find my companion." And so that like, the time came, like, I bought the even when I bought the ring, like, 3 months in advance, didn't blink, swiped the card, bought it. But it wasn't until I was, like, sitting there waiting for her to, like, show up. I had her sister bring her to, like, a mountain view spot that we previously been to before. And I was, like, sitting there in the trees, like, the forest by myself just thinking, and I was like, "I'm really about to commit my life to a
you're like,
marriage today." Yeah. But yeah, it was like I hadn't really thought about what that means for my life, until I did it. And of course, like, I still went through with it and I love her and I wouldn't have traded my decision for anything. But so yeah, to answer your question, I was scared. But yeah.
I mean, so like every time your stomach flips, every time the heart races, right? That's just, it's proof that you're in the territory of something that matters, right? So again, the biggest mistake most of you make, and what I've learned from coaching, right? Hopefully this should be good advice to you, is the fear of like, oh my God, I might run into issues trying to start this business. I don't know how to set up an LLC. That means that you don't stop. That's actually the perfect indicator that that's exactly what you need to be spending your time doing. You need to step into it. And the biggest thing you can do to kind of shake off the pressure and still get through it is just say, be honest and say, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I also know that I'm not going to stop until I figure it out. Guys, Altura, I didn't know anything about an NFT, like how to launch it. I was on other projects, but that didn't mean I knew how to do a smart contract, how to figure out the art styles, how to upload the files, how to get all the promotions set up and ran. I knew a little bit, but like I've been able to figure out each one of these challenges. And I also know that nothing's really going to stop us from being able to keep doing that after mints. Like when we have a multi-million-dollar syndicate, even tens or hundreds of dollars in the future, that's not going to stop, because once you're on the path and say, damn, I hit 8 reps in the gym, that might be where most of you start in high school, right? Building that belief and mindset. And then you say, wow, I actually was able to figure out how to contact the Wyoming State Department and get a Wyoming LLC, right? Or a Delaware LLC, whatever you're doing. And then, wow, I was able to set up a Discord server. I built a community. I ran this ad. It just stacks, and you believe and then affirm that belief, or you negate the belief, which is why that self-talk manifestation really matters so much, because you're the biggest advocate or the worst enemy to yourself, I think, a lot of times. So the question is, how many times have you walked away from the door that could have changed everything just because your hands were shaking? Yeah, I'm asking everyone, but go ahead.
A lot of times, man. A lot of times. I'll just give a couple examples that weren't as high level, but my family is my father is Hispanic. All of my family on his side doesn't speak English, they speak Spanish. And so it's been like a goal of mine to be able to speak Spanish forever. And I remember in college, it came down to a point where I had like my guidance counselor had like somehow told me wrong the first year I was there. And so the only way to get a minor in Spanish to ensure that, because I was getting college paid for, to ensure that I was fluent in Spanish by the time I finished college, was to apply for a program that would have sent me to Spain for 6 months to study abroad. And I was like, oh, I guess I just want to do it. I like immediately, the moment she said that, I gave up on my dream to speak Spanish by the time I finished college. Didn't think twice. And like 2 years went by and I was a senior, and I was like looking back, and by that time I'd met quite a few of my closer friends that had done that. One went to Thailand, one went to Spain. We had, you know how it is, like I don't remember what the program's called, but such a lost opportunity for me to like, one, achieve the goal that like my whole life, think about this, of all the times I've seen my grandma, my dad's mom, I've never once had a conversation with her because I don't speak her language. And I gave up on that. I gave up on being able to speak to my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, my grandma, because there was competition to compete for,
Yes.
and because I would have had to go to Spain. And I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to leave for the country for 6 months. What a stupid decision, man. That's just one example, but I've done it many times in my life.
Damn. I love what you said there. I'm sorry that didn't work out at that time, but I love what you said in the fact that you tied a weight to it. Like you tied something that was bigger, right? Like to me, Altura isn't about, we'll have $1 million in our community fund that we can, obviously pay for startups and stuff. But Altura really starts as soon as people start believing. Like it's already started. People have already been taking action. We're not even like a week or two out. We still have quite a few weeks to mint in the whitelist mint and stuff like that. So we're early in this movement, but we took action on something because we tied it to something bigger. And it wasn't just about, oh, I hope people like, talk in the Discord. No, it was quite literally, the vision is entrepreneurship as a whole is in danger. And we've associated the ability for people to get funding to even exist in this like space where a normal kid can have a dream to make a business someday, because of the way we think the world is going, and we are making the vision that is bigger than ourselves. You made the connection there of like, this is for my family, right? Even if it's just learning a language or getting an experience to do that. But it didn't have to be. You could have just said, oh, well, that I just wanted to go to Spain. That would have been cool. But you tied it to something that meant bigger. And I'm sure you're probably going to do that in the future too with other things. Because I'm sure that, like, obviously the regret of not doing that is probably going to motivate you to do bigger things in the future when you see those. Like the next time, if so, like I'm sure you do it now if somebody offered that to you, definitely. So when you're faced with a similar opportunity, it just changes that. I think regret's actually great. Again, it's a yin yang. So like if you have a big regret, the next time you're faced with the opportunity, you're not going to like let it go by as easily just because. And I think fear too, right? Like a lot of people in high school, there's like foreign exchange students. I'm like, how do you come from like Italy to Wisconsin, where I grew up? And it's like, how do you do that as like a high schooler? But to Europeans, right, like countries are closer, they'll travel in between them more often. They face that fear earlier on. And so it looks like they're kicking ass in life. They kind of are too. And they're more interesting because of it. Because they face that fear of like, oh, I got to go outside my world a little bit. And that's why I think people who travel there's always that connection with just being interesting as a person. There are always, I haven't met somebody that's traveled a lot that hasn't been interesting to me, like somebody interesting to talk to. But like, let me tie it back to what we're doing by referencing the Enlightenment again, and the revolution and the Renaissance. But even the founding fathers, right? The industrial boom, all of these types of history moments. It wasn't like comfort that built those. It was fear. If I swear, the stories about Washington crossing the Delaware. How do you think George Washington felt? Do you think he was just like, I'm him, every day. Like that's probably what we associate. I bet like 90% of the time he's like, holy fuck, like someone could shoot a steel musket ball through my tent and hit me in the jaw and I'll bleed out to death like tonight. And he's probably like, I have no idea what the hell's going on. I'm supposed to be running a country that I don't even know. There's no law and order. There's no government. There's no military that's structured yet. He's got to set all that up. I'm sure he was probably a little bit nervous doing that. But he made, I mean, it wasn't just him, right? But he led a movement that would make probably the greatest nation ever, in my opinion, right? But yeah, that didn't like if he would have shied away and he would have said, that sounds like a lot of work leading a revolution. The redcoats seem a little intimidating. I would be a little bit nervous going up against them. We might not be sitting here today. Somebody had to have the cojones, the nuts to go and say that this is possible. And that's usually how it works. Men or women. Women, you got to have the nuts too. Anybody. It's a saying. But let me ask you, like, again, how many times have you confused fear with failure instead of seeing it as proof that you're on the right path? What do you think is a good example that you could tie into that? What do you label it? I'm scared that I'm going to fail instead of just I'm scared, but that's actually a good thing. And why do you, and in what moments do you think you do it when it could have a dramatic effect on and lead to greatness?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example where I made a better decision this time. But exactly what you were describing earlier, I mean, about the setting up of the LLC and all the things you have to figure out to like make a proper business, because you're missing out on a lot of like tax advantages. You're missing out on opportunities for programs, namely ours. But if you don't have an entity set up, so what I'm trying to get done, decided it was time to set up my entity, and I got to that point where like I literally had ChatGPT open on one screen, and on the other screen I had like the filing service. The state I live in is Texas, so I was filing it through them. And like I was watching a video about how to set it up. So I set it up, and then it led me to like it's asking me about like the DUNS number, your tax ID, your EIN or whatever. And I'm sitting there asking chat like, what is this? And then it will say like, oh yeah, it's this, and this, and you use it for this. And I'm like, well, use it for this? Like what? Why would I need that? And then like I ended up spending like 2 hours that night. I didn't even set it up fully, just researching all of the things that like incidentally I'm gonna have to worry about in order to make my business model legal and profitable and tax compliant. Like I just remember going to bed that night at like 11 p.m., which is late for me if you know. I mean, I try and get proper recovery for the gym, but and I just remember talking to my wife, and I was like, this sucks. Like I just learned about all this stuff that I didn't know I had to do. I make content every day for like 20 people to like. I film YouTube. I spend 8 hours a weekend, which is a big deal for me also because of all that I try and get done, just on editing, not even filming, for these YouTube videos to get like, now I have to, in order to make the tax advantages work so that I'm not just spending my own money with no benefit for all of this that I'm trying to get done. Like I have to add all of this stuff onto it too. And I'm supposed to like keep track of all this so that in April, when it comes to tax season, I don't get audited by the IRS and then screwed out of a bunch of money. And I was like, sometimes I just don't even know why I do this. Like it's not, I remember
What else
saying,
is there?
yeah. I just remember being like, I don't even know why I do all this, but I made the decision to just go to bed for that night. And I woke up the next day and I had spent more time thinking, I guess, in my sleep, where I felt better about it. Just being like, you know what? I don't really have anything to lose anyway. The decision to do this says more about me, I think, than might originally meet the eye. I'm trying to tie this back to what your original question was. I think I got off on a tangent.
What else is there though? Like, what would be more rewarding? Playing Xbox? Like,
Yeah.
like out of the things you could otherwise do, what else is there? At the end of the day, it's a challenge, but so is learning to paint, so is jujitsu. Like figuring out and then telling your wife that, right? Or just maybe just saying it to yourself. Damn, I figured out how to set up an LLC. That is what, to me at least, feels really fun. Like it feels like as a man, that's probably why Minecraft is so fun, because you get to build something. You get to like see, I completed this. That's why like that LLC doesn't exist. I just spawn that into the world. That exists now. Like you can look that up on the internet. I made that a reality. There's legal documentation. That's cool. Yeah. That would have just lived in your head otherwise. So literally the biggest global secret that most people don't understand is like your mind creates matter. Like it creates real things in the real world. It moves matter, it moves people, resources. You just have to execute on what you're thinking. That's pretty cool. That's really cool. Most people have it backwards. And I think honestly, science is kind of messes with that a lot. We learn that like the brain is made up of cells and connections between synapses that fire, which produce thought. But like the amount of depth our mind has, dreams, thoughts, consciousness, beliefs, all of the stuff that lives in our mind. What makes a lot more sense is that our mind creates matter rather than this clump of cells creates what we call our mind and our thoughts. Like being our mind is the consciousness and it creates reality around us. That's probably the biggest secret that's gate kept, which is everything tied to that manifestation belief. I know it sounds deep, but just look at the basic principle of this LLC didn't exist unless Anthony did something to make it happen. And that is cool. That you anybody could agree that that is cooler than like watching 5 Instagram reels because they're just consuming that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're right, there's like an aspect to this concept of like constantly consuming or producing that most people will never see the second part of ever. Like most people are just constant consumers. I mean, you could consider like the work done at your 9 to 5 being, what you produce, but who are you producing that for? Like that production doesn't benefit you other than time traded for money. And so you end up consuming a lot more than you produce for yourself. And so it does feel really cool to be on the side of finally, whether or not a bunch of people see the thing that you're producing right now, doesn't change the fact that you still produced it and it's still unique to you, and it's expressive of what it is you have going on in your mind. And if it's a good enough idea, like it'll take off naturally.
Yeah. I think what I would call happiness, again, I know I've listened to Andrew Tate make this point actually, but like most people have the misconception, especially as men. I think men, this belief is pretty essential. I think the 1%, the people that actually make it, share this belief that you might want to change if you don't. But happiness isn't the goal. Happiness is kind of like if you feel happiness, that means you're likely on the right path. If you're not, people that are depressed likely don't do much in their life. They probably don't have like social involvement too much. They probably don't have a job that's rewarding, that they care too much about, that they're putting significant effort into. There's probably not much motion in their life. People that are happy, the happiness is fleeting, right? Which is why it's valuable. It's like a little indicator, like a little XP boost along the way. But it's because your head is down, you're working so hard that when you look up, you're like, oh, there's a mansion around me. There's $1 million in my bank account. And then if you look at Elon Musk, when he finds out he's the richest man in the world, he goes, that's cool. Anyways, and then he goes back to working. And he feels happiness in the moment where he's like, damn, that's cool. But people obsess that should be a 24/7 emotion. And it's like, that's kind of, I don't know, it's a little bit unrealistic, especially when we know no emotions last. And honestly, it's good to have the full range of life anyway. I don't know how do you think I'm just like shooting randomly? Do you think I feel like that's a pretty common thing to believe in, that happiness is just supposed to be lasting all the time, like the Disney movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's like your innate born with desires. Like you don't want to be, even some philosophers said that too. Like the point of life is to just avoid, what was it again? Avoid I don't think sadness was the word, but like avoid sadness at all costs or something like that. That's an innate desire, I think, to just be happy all the time because that feels nice. But also like think about, yeah, exactly. What would happiness mean if you never experienced pain or like sadness? I mean, I think the bigger thing to chase is more like purpose or influence, or I wouldn't even say power, more just like what have you done for like the greater good of humanity? Have you made something that like made other people better? Or like, have you made something that changed how at least a certain group of people feel about the world and about the possibilities available to them? Or is what you do, maybe you don't change the lives of others at a greater scale, but maybe like, does what you do bring you purpose in life? Do you, as a man, get to provide for at least a small group of, usually that's the family, but does what you do bring you a sense of purpose? And you're not gonna, you 100% can have a sense of purpose and simultaneously not experience joy doing that thing every day. Like maybe it's not exactly the happiest time in the world when something goes wrong at work. Let's say work is what brings you purpose and you feel fulfilled doing that. One day could be bad, the next day is good, but it's all just in an effort to give you a purpose in this life, Same could be said about the first example I gave about influence.
I think that depression and success are brothers and they're very close. Most people think they're so much opposite of each other, but I think they're neighbors. The one that you end up choosing, right, is the coolest part is one decision is what changes which one you have. It's just that one is a fight reaction and one is a flight reaction. You get faced with the same problem, but some people feel hopeless. They feel like they can't stand up to the challenge and they let the challenge and the fear around that consume them. And that's what creates the depressive state. Or they choose to fight back. They say, this LLC, I got to pay taxes. I don't know how I'm going to come up with $5,000. Then they get depressed, right? If you choose to let that consume you. Or you say, I'm going to go DoorDash, or like, I'm going to go sell this offer and I'm going to go push this out on the market. I'm going to act. And that action is what creates the feeling of accomplishment and it creates winning really at the end of the day. So it's like, I would honestly rather have somebody, I'd rather coach somebody that's depressed than somebody honestly that has never started a business before. Cause a lot of times like the emotion can be just easily rechanneled if the person can see that their emotional state is literally just tied by a decision to act in the moment. And so if you can find out a lot of times, and I've read the research on this, and like, you know, most of us have felt sadness or some sort of depressive state. If you can figure out what that main emotional driver is, which is what therapy does a lot of times, you can reroute that and say, well, how did I act in that state which spiraled me down to this point? And you can work your way back up and figure out how to cognitive behavioral therapy get you way through to the other end. That's your psychology lesson of the day. But like at the end of the day, it's we control a lot more than we think, and that's the coolest part. Is you get to make the decision if you go to Spain or not. You get to make the decision on if you actually finish the LLC or if you let ChatGPT make it sound so complex and you just shut your computer and you can't write off money on your taxes and you never end up saving or making enough money to win in life. And it's just like those little things add up very quickly. It's in 10 years, do you want to say I could have done this or I fought my way through? And even if you failed, right, which one will your chin be lifted on? That's kind of the rule of thumb I want you guys to be thinking. And how many times do you think you let yourself get into either one of those states where you're at a decision point? I think most of you don't realize how much of that is in your control. So I don't really have a question for this. It's just like, how many times do you think you're faced with opportunities that you can quite literally see this is how it ends good, this is how it ends bad, and you choose the bad instead of the good? Because I think that's directly tied to your success, Anthony, my own success, anybody's success out there. I think you and me are just better at not choosing the negative than most other people. We at least choose to fight more than we do to flee. And that typically leads to success. That doesn't mean we don't fail. It just means that we fail less because we tried more.
Yeah. I think that also means like to a certain degree we fail more, but it's just because there's more opportunity for failure or success. The difference in my eyes is that failure means something different to people like us. Where like all you need like a reel I keep seeing on my page that pops up is being like, if you knew you were only 30 failures from achieving your goal, how quickly would you want to fail? It's that concept put into practice where it's like you got to stop associating. Let me not say stop. One of my favorite aspects of the Stoic philosophy is like labeling things as they are and not as you perceive them. So for example, like if we want to talk in the instance of failure or success, failure is simply put a failure. It's not bad. It's not detrimental. It's not, you know, the worst thing that could happen. It's just a failure. And so by definition, like if you can train your mind to think about things as they really are and not as what you're inclined to believe them to be, and it ties a little bit into what we talk about all the time through manifestation, where it's like the things you tell yourself become your reality. That would be, you'd be a lot better off thinking of failure that way. And success too. You don't want to be on the opposite side being like, you know, a success is a really good thing. A success is a high point in my career. A success is the end all be all, because it's not that either. It's just a success.
It's
So it works.
the head raise moment where you realize what you've accomplished, but then it's really just put your head back. Well said. Yeah, that's I heard what you were saying. I don't know if everyone else did, but if that didn't make sense to you, drop a comment, but or just rewatch that section. That was actually a really good description. And so we're gonna transition because I want to cover one more point, and then we'll talk about Altura at the end. Promise this isn't just a long VSL. This is a podcast, but Altura really, again, if I have to say it very clearly and bluntly, Altura is the way out of all of this. We're hopefully explaining to you throughout this how that's the case, but I'm going to make a big point right here, and it relates to power. A lot of you maybe you've been asked the question, would you rather, right? Would you rather have fame or power? Would you rather be famous or be powerful? That's like do you go to Silicon Valley or do you go to Washington, D.C.? Every empire had its syndicate. Rome had the Senate, Yale had the Skull and Bones, Silicon Valley had their PayPal mafia, their networks. I've talked about some of these. The truth is simple. The only people that rise are the people in the circle. Like how many presidents have came from vice presidents in our country? How many governors were senators, right? It's you work your way within the circle and eventually you take power. Syndicates are often just families of belief, not literal organizations. Families of power. They pool capital. The Middle Eastern cultures do this a lot. I've seen a lot of I actually know an immigrant that lives with his like three brothers and him and their wives like all live in this same house, and it's a really nice house. And they like share resources. They all like hustle. They all have like Airbnbs, and they just like stack money and resources, and they expand out quickly because they work together. A lot of that's one of the biggest regrets, I think, is like people are so used to leaving the house and kind of building their own apartment and like way of living. We're so separated, but if we actually work together, most of us are just not familiar with that concept. And it seems like independence is such a big thing that too many people chase, even when they have all the reason in the world to trust each other. And therefore, if you do believe in that and you do share resources, you do work together, you accelerate each other's rise. The same names, the same families, the same networks dominate for generations. And a lot of them, you don't even know their names. They're just behind the scenes. So let me ask you directly, Anthony, if you had to pick, like, who would you say is your current syndicate? And if you had to, like, would you say it's your TikTok followers, your coworkers who hate their jobs, or, the people you're meeting in Altura so far? Is it me? Is it other friends of yours? And out of the people you'd call your syndicate, how much are they affecting your growth versus everyone else?
I think at this stage, I can't say it's my followers, and I think we have some growth to do. I think I could say the same thing just based on the stage for who we have in our Discord and what we have going on for Altura. I think for me right now, it would be a select couple people to include you, my wife, and like 2 to 3, 1 to 2 of like my closest friends from college know and could tell anybody else in the world exactly what it is I believe, or at least what my values are and where I see myself in the next 5, 10, 20 years, what my end goal for my life is.
That's great. I'm glad you defined that too, by the way.
Yeah. I would say you're on there for sure. Just, yeah, no doubt. But frame that, the second part of your question again for me, like what that means for my growth or how I think that supports my growth if I didn't have that.
How much more impact, like the people that I like your definition. Let's roll with your definition, actually, of like people that they know. So like there's level, like I don't remember if you ever took power and influence at the Air Force Academy. But that was one of the lessons, is like you have different levels of friends, right? And I'm not going to define that like, what's the book? It's not like Dale Carnegie. It's like there's a doctor. I can't remember it right now, but book that we studied for a long time, we read through. But there's like level 1 friends, basically, which is people who know you, they kind of know what you do, it's like your social media followers. Level 2 friends are people that know what you stand for, right? And then kind of what you believe in, roughly. And level 3 is like, if you didn't exist, like if I had to go to Tibet for like 4 months, you could step into my business and you could execute as if you were me. Like you knew how I would act if I was there. So like you could make decisions as if you were me. You knew me that well. So that's kind of like how you rate people. But I would say the syndicate's level 2 and 3. Doesn't necessarily have to be either or, but just people that at least know what you believe in and could work together with you. They have the potential, maybe. I'd say at least level 2 kind of relationships. But if it's just even comparing people like that, people that know what you believe in versus just people who know who you are, those people that you just identified, what percentage of the impact, the social impact on your life do you think they have versus the billions of other people?
I would say they're probably responsible for like 90% of the impact to be had by outside sources
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, that's the common answer. That's the difference. So if 90% of you is made by the few people closest to you, and if you don't feel like there's people in your circle right now, as most of us did, like before the Air Force Academy, I had friends, but they weren't like motivated to do the same things I'm trying to do. I didn't have this level of high achievement and people surrounding me that wanted this. But if you didn't surround yourself with those people and they make up 90% of the impact on you, you're quite literally deciding your fate by who you surround yourself with, as I'm sure you've heard many, many times. And hopefully that example right there was kind of like your network is your net worth, but we just kind of proved it in an example. But that's what Altura is it's vetted people that believe in something. So when you step in and you talk to people, you know that the only thing they're going to talk to you about is something that's going to help you level up, a way to make more money, answers to how do you set up your LLC where you can get there in a quarter of the time. Somebody knows, oh yeah, contact this guy, he's my attorney, he like can do it for you, it's way cheaper. Things like that save you time, money, the people that get you there quicker, because then you level up 90% of that progress way faster than everyone else. So it's not just a Discord server, it's not like a hype group, it's not just an NFT community. We get so many people in there promoting it just because they think it's like some random NFT project. No, it's a modern syndicate. Imagine like a mafia or a cartel, but dedicated in terms of that tight family group to excellence, to guaranteeing success for one another. A brotherhood. It's a collection of entrepreneurs pooling millions of dollars basically from day one to accelerate each other's businesses. We're going to invest back in your companies. And the key to enter isn't like some handshake behind closed doors. I don't care what your last name is. It's one NFT. It's you showing you care enough to put a couple $100 on the line, which ends up going back to you guys anyway. One passport. And so you hold that, you belong. And anybody can obviously scrape that together. That shouldn't be too much to ask. And it just shows that you're willing to put something on the line, right? You don't have to cut off your hand to join or right? Do something crazy. You don't have to go kill a boar in the fields. You just have to pay $200 to get on the whitelist. So yeah, that's it. But let me put the terms out real quick. The exact details for the mint, if you guys have been listening this whole time, whitelist, meaning you get the $200 something, $200-300 premium price, depending on Ethereum's price, right? 0.06 Ethereum. We're going to have 800 of them available. And then that's it for like the genuinely good price. The speedy click elite price to get into the whitelist tier. Otherwise, you have to pay 0.1 Ethereum, which is still a pretty great price because I see this easily hitting a few Ethereum in value quickly, and it's going to exponentially grow. So imagine investing, 10 cents and getting back $5. That's basically where I see this project going in terms of Ethereum. We're going to have 8,888 NFTs, which is a very lucky number, actually. If you look at the Chinese interpretation of the number 8, that's probably the luckiest number you can have, which is kind of luck that you even ran upon this in the first place. We're going to give away some of those. We have a great team. We're building out our team as we go. And it's actually, the team is recruited from you guys. We're vetting you guys that want to partake. And a lot of the help and moderator group we're getting is coming straight from you guys that participate early. And obviously, millions of dollars in funding that goes back into you. And I promise you, if you guys actually do the things we're going to be involved in, I think most of you could hit 5 figures a month in your own business if you actually use all the resources that we'll be putting out in the next year or two. What do you think I'm about to say in terms of, I'm about to describe how we're different, but compared to other NFT communities, how do you think we stand out in terms of like PR and in terms of what our goals are after the mint?
Yeah, I actually was kind of just going to hit on this anyways, whether or not you'd asked. But this is, I don't know, it blows my mind. It blew my mind to hear about it as a concept before it ever became something publicly researchable or joinable, to the guys watching this video. Because originally I was in the, bro, he's sitting back relaxing, but it's different because it's not at all like what people use NFTs for. It's actually the original use of an NFT. The point is not the NFT. The NFT is just your non-fungible, it's literally your token, your access, you're granting access to a syndicate of people, could very well become, nice easy's Caleb, bro, could very well become that level 3 person for you. Just by means of like being in the same space and having the same train of thought about life, about the way the world works, and about a common goal to achieve, and about desire for sovereignty that I wish, and is the purpose behind my content too in fitness, that I wish people would catch on to, which is you're slowly losing your chance at ever becoming the sovereign ruler of, and I believe God is the sovereign ruler of my life, but of your life here on earth. That's slowly going away. And that's what Altura represents. It's not this way for, like, I'll be so frank with you, like, I don't make money off this right now. None of us are going to make money off this until enough people have believed in the vision and have put their time and have put their whatever 0.6 Ethereum, 0.06 Ethereum is in the beginning, and have put time into meetups, have put time into engaging, have put time into knowing people, building a network, and sharing this belief that any of us are going to make money. Like, this is not Caleb.
I'm just going to rug pull everybody. Actually, I'm going to go disappear deaf and to Bermuda or whatever. Yeah, that's my clan, guys.
That's what's different. Like, what?
That's why that's my government name.
What other founder of a protocol or project do you know that's like hopping on here weekly, throwing out his own money to make this happen for the collective benefit of more than himself? That's nobody. I mean, I can't think of one. The only guy doing it is Caleb, and I'm happy to be a part of the team. And I hope that these podcasts give you a better insight as a viewer to like what it is we're trying to achieve, because Caleb and I are pushing a view, like we're pushing an understanding of the world. We're not pushing a way for you to get rich quick, if that makes sense. And that's what I think is the main difference between us and some regular Joe Schmo NFT project.
Look at this graph. Look at what makes you think that with this going literally vertical at the end, why would these people, if they have all the money they'd ever need, why would they care about putting it into your business? Like, why would they care if you succeed? If they have all the money already, why even take a chance on you? Like, what's the point? If they're only going to get more and more resources, clearly they're already winning from something else. So why would they take, right, Mimi, I see you're in here, I'm going to pick on you, but why would they take Mimi's company? And why would they invest in that if clearly their other investments are already paying off? What makes them that have everything going to choose you versus people that did the same work as you? People that are on the podcast, you're grinding it out. I'm paying, again, like Anthony said, out of pocket to run the ads and to grow this project, which is why I care so much about it. I'm literally like, a few months ago, I had to put my rent on a credit card just so I could like cash it, because I was trying to cash in reward points for things like that. I'm trying to maximize how much I'm spending on everything to make this happen. Therefore, this really can't fail. Like, It's not like I'm homeless, right? But I'm clearly investing a lot of my own money. Has happened as a reality, and there's so many better things you could argue that I could put it toward in terms of objective payoff. Like I could just run ads and get more coaching clients. Okay, but how is that going to be something that I'd be proud to write on my tombstone? Coached a few, like 20 people versus that's great, right? It is an impact. It's a decent impact. But if I have the potential to say took 10,000 people and made them millionaires within 10 years, that is a crazy impact that will have a dramatic effect on this line that you're looking at. And therefore, all of your families, all of your grandkids, right, will say, we'll probably also still have the NFT because the NFTs don't expire. There's no expiration date. And they can still go to the meetups. They can still go. This is a generation one Altura NFT token from 2025, and it's 2086. You're like, Grandpa, how'd you even get one of these? Well, I remember I paid $200 back in the day when they first launched, and yeah, you're my grandson. You get access to this for all of your life too. The door's still open. That's literally how it's going to be, guys. That's my vision, and I don't really see that changing. And I also, this pisses me off a little bit, but hopefully, yeah. And that's hopefully should be an indicator of what we're trying to do here. Let me end with some heat. Not the Miami kind, but greatest times in history weren't built by lone wolves. And trust me, I have tried. I've tried to use AI. I've tried to use everything but hire and partner with other people. I thought initially I could do this NFT project all by myself. I'm like, oh, I got ChatGPT to write ads and stuff. Very quickly realized nothing great happens without other people. They had to be built by syndicates. There's a lot of you out there that say, I'm just a content editor, but I'm going to make it big, right? Because I can use AI to do it. You could, but if you really want to make it, you need to find people you believe in. Groups of individuals who believe in something, who believe that your content editing business was going to be the best out there and actually genuinely work to do that. Things like that before the world as a whole believed in you. That's why I built this. And as a testament to show that people can believe in something bigger than themselves. I'm done waiting for permission. I am done asking banks to kind of give me crumbs. I'm done waiting for venture capitalist firms who are assholes and are too busy driving their Ferrari to even sit down and hear you out, that don't know how to validate you. This is my syndicate that I started, and I'm giving it to all of you. I'm opening the doors and I'm saying, I'm going to step back. You guys are going to help me build this, where our belief together is going to continue it. I might have had the idea, but the whole point is to share everything together. Altura is the test, not of technology or AI or any of the cool businesses that are going to start up out of here that you're going to hear about in Forbes, but of belief as a whole. Can you commit before the applause? Do you have what it takes to step into the empty auditorium and start singing and hope that people will show up? I'm not that great of a singer, but I think in business, at least, I could pull that off. Can you step through the door while you're scared? Can you be part of something that your grandchild can say, that's an Altura token? How did that movement even start? And you say, I was one of the people that made that happen. October 1st, the gates open. The syndicate begins officially, but it starts already. There's already chats. The only question left is, will you be inside when we start? Any last comments?
It's not something you're gonna think like, and it's not really comparable to type of investment, but think like Bitcoin 2013, 2010. Like imagine what you could be passing up on if only you believed in it, because that's really what it takes. It's not like this kind of thing is not going to come to its full fruition without people that think the same way Caleb and I do, with their full conviction that this is going to be something that makes a lasting impact on generations to come. And
I think the hardest thing is like people the term "trust me, bro" doesn't work like it used to.
Yeah, no. Well, as it shouldn't, right? I don't think it should. I've been burned many times by the trust me, bro. But
Fucking meme coins.
yeah, exactly. There's almost like not much more we can do or say besides hop on here with my government name being easily Googleable through my social media. If it all blows up, it's on us. Like it's not like I'm just out here to rug pull or to make $1 million and leave. But
Right.
truly,
And it's like and the testament is, I think that's why NFTs haven't came back yet. It's because people can't trust each other. And so the one community that makes it happen, like that might be the community. We might be the community that brings back NFTs, because people are like 1 foot in the door. They're like, are you sure? You're holding on to the rug. You're not going to pull it, right? Like imagine if you had 100% faith in a meme coin, right? Let's say a meme coin that you knew for a fact wasn't going to be rug pulled. You literally got all the upside potential and you never had to worry about them selling, and you just made like 1,000%. Like that's quite literally what I'm inviting you to, because everything's public. I already put out the whitelist, the plan, the community fund. You guys are gonna be able to see the wallet and the funds inside. Like everything is gonna be built by you. You're gonna have voting rights over everything that happens. It's quite literally, honestly, I'm more worried for you guys, because you guys got to decide who we fund, what companies get the startup proceeds. what types of other projects we do. Do we launch like our own like DeFi platform? Do we start our own software? Like all these crazy things that are going to occur, and it's really exciting. There is nothing else that's cooler than getting to, like, this is a movement of people that trust each other. That could, you could probably, there's probably someone in Dallas, Anthony, you can probably go drive and meet up with, and like, you're like, shit, you got a token too. Okay, well, we're cool with each other. I don't even know who you are, but we do now. And that's gonna be sick. That gets me pumped up, as you could say, Mr. Para. Pumped Para.
Para is pumped.
I'm gonna officially do one of these, and I'm gonna shut the iPad. But thank you guys for watching episode 17. Means a lot that you've even been here. Our last episode actually is starting to get some traction. We're starting to do good. We're on Spotify too, Ascended Podcast. Just look me up, or my full name here. It's on the corner. And just follow us on Spotify too. We'd love to see that. This is only going to get bigger. I'm going to take clips from this podcast, and we're going to use the things we just talked about as marketing. So you'll literally see, like, if you keep watching these, you'll see the moment zero, clips or content that will be put out to bring more people in and hopefully grow the podcast. Everything just takes off at once. So Anthony's going to get a lot of screen time pretty soon. Good or bad. If he gets his mic working next time, but
I know, dude. I was so my Wi-Fi was like, I had to go reboot it real quick, and so I was in a rush. But won't happen next week.
And with that said, we'll see you guys back on Thursday. I'll be there, and we'll see you guys back next week for episode 18. Have a good night, and as always, I'm rooting for you.
Take care. Thanks for joining.